I don't moonlight as a rapper. My jersey up too high in the rafters. I got a front team, new life and a tractor. Still sipping that moonshine and I'm plastered.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Moonlighters Club. I guess to you doesn't feel like a lot, but like it's been a lot. There's been a lot of interviews in a small amount of time, and then a lot of like walking around with heavy equipment on Boston subway systems, which is not fun.
That's challenging.
But I'm happy. These are good problems. I like everyone to meet Becky.
Hey, guys.
Is it Rebecca, Becky? How do you prefer?
Becky, yes. Definitely go by Becky.
Becky?
Yes.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you again.
Yes, yeah, again, yeah. I met Becky at a work event,
Yep.
and she had these delicious things with her. And the reason why you stood out is because it was a WeWork event. Yep. Most times I see those, most people are kind of just like this, and they have like a flyer, and you're like this or whatever. And I get it; it's nerve wracking. Yeah. It's scary. But then when people are like, "Yo, what's up?" I'm like, then I get excited. Yeah. Then I'm like, I want to see this. And then I got to talk to your team, and so I thought it'd be cool for you to be here.
Yeah, I thank you. I'm super excited to be here, and this is just really exciting talking about the product and also being able to talk through, like having this as a side hustle and balancing that with a full-time job.
All right, yeah, so let's just get it started. I will start. We're going to get to these in a little bit. Where are you from?
So I'm originally from upstate New York. But kind of my tie to Boston, I guess, I came here for pharmacy school. Nice. So that was a 6-year program. And then I obviously fell in love with Boston. So I needed to stay here afterwards. And I knew I was never going to go back to Albany. Not that there's anything wrong with it. But I thought I would stay here in Boston. And then I met my boyfriend, who is now also my business partner, and he took me to Jersey. So I'm officially a Jersey girl now.
Yeah, Jersey, one of those states, dude. Yep. I mean, I know good people from Jersey, but it's just, Jersey's a thing, dude. It's its own thing.
It is.
How do you like it?
Actually, even though I had like such a weird like thought of like, oh my God, am I actually gonna be living in Jersey? I have to say I love it. It's actually one of my top places that I've lived. So
what part? I'm
in Red Bank.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
So it's an easy transition from Boston. It's its own little town, lots of stuff to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Why'd you pick pharmacy school?
So I would say that actually I was more, not pushed into it, but maybe like gently nudged towards it. When I was in high school, my mom, who is always consistently like 10 steps ahead of me, like, still to this day, so thank God for that. But she was like, you know what a really great career might be is if you look into pharmacy. She's like, why don't you go down? We have Hannaford's in upstate New York, which is like a grocery store. Of her. Yep. So she was like, why don't you, see if they need any help, any, work as a technician at the store. And I was like, I had no direction at that point. So I had started working at the pharmacy there.
Nice.
And I don't think I really knew exactly what pharmacy entailed, but the people that I worked with were awesome. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, this is the way to go.
Is it a lot of school? I've heard it is for like, is it normally 6 years or something like that?
Yeah.
To be, okay.
Exactly. It's a 6-year program. Yeah. And I think at the time, when I first went into it, I was thinking it was just retail. You're going to be doing like a CVS type of thing. But there's so many other jobs, especially in the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
So there's a lot you can really do with it.
Okay. So when you got into it, once you're going through, did you have an idea of where you were going to end up once you were out of school? Was it going to be the retail side or somewhere else?
Yep. So probably like halfway through pharmacy school, there was someone that came in just to one of our classes. She worked for a pharmaceutical company.
Okay.
She was in this role called a medical science liaison. And a lot of what you do there is building relationships with, doctors, physicians. You're talking to them more about the clinical information. And everything it appealed to me, but it's very dry. It's very black and white, I would say. But yeah, it's that. So that was like, all right, I definitely want to go that route. I couldn't see myself just working in a CVS for the rest of my life. So I wanted to do something a little bit different.
Okay, cool. So when you do that, what are your days like? Like I only really know, I guess most of my friends are some realm of business, so like closely related to some kind of process, right? So management, finance, operations. So I know that grind. When it comes to that, is it the same except the product is different, or is it a different work cycle? work-life balance altogether?
Yeah, it's definitely a different work-life balance. And honestly, I'm so grateful for the position that I have right now, because I know we'll get into this, but I think it's really what kind of allowed me to start Protein Powerball and dedicate time. Luckily, I'm able to work from home, so it's super flexible. I know, it's like, I mean,
dream of that.
Yeah, right? It really is. It's amazing, because especially coming from, I worked in-house for 2 years. So it was a huge transition then working from home, and you kind of have to like self-manage yourself. There's days that I was like, do I really have to get out of bed?
Right.
Like, can I just like chill and like binge Netflix all day?
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, right. So you have to, I guess, have a little bit of self-motivation, otherwise you'll completely just fall off the rails. But
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because I feel like I complain about working from home a lot. I think it's really just flexibility, because I think I'd be able to do it for like a month and a half until I needed to go somewhere to work, because working from home is either the most productive time I'm going to have because I'm chill, or the least productive time. And then after a while, you have no stimulation from other people. So I'm just like, no, I got to get out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how, I mean, it was nice, especially initially when I started with that role, because I was out like traveling probably 2 to 3 days a week.
Okay.
So at least I was having that type of interaction. But I think the other thing that makes it nice too, and which is super helpful for me being productive, my boyfriend also works from home. So we kind of help motivate each other, I think.
That's cool. See, if my wife and I, like, when I work from home, like, you gonna be here tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, she's like, no. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll be like, she's the same way. She's like, you're gonna be here? Damn. Like, but I get what you're saying though. It's hard for me to slack off when she's like, do you do work? And I'm like, all right, I should probably earn my keep.
Yeah, exactly. I think that we're both really good, both in, our full-time jobs, obviously, and with this, holding ourselves accountable and holding each other accountable. So that helps.
So it looks like you prepped yourself for this, but when you got to the industry, was it what you thought it was going to be?
I think it was, in the sense that I guess I was pretty prepared for like the day to day, and I did a training program right after school where you kind of learn all about the pharmaceutical industry, because going through pharmacy school, and anybody that's currently doing that or has gone through it can relate. It's very much hospital and retail focused. Okay. So I didn't quite know what to expect once I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. But after that 2-year training program, it's like you get it down. You know how the departments interact. What the roles are. And I think, with anything, it's like a learning curve for that first year. And then the same thing when I was out in the field. It's hard you can't necessarily like prep for like in-person interactions,
Right.
I would say every time you go and talk with somebody, it's different.
Yeah.
So it's all like experiential learning. So the first year, I would say it was definitely like exciting, because you're still kind of getting in the groove of things. But then, once that goes on, you're kind of like looking for like, okay, what's next? Like, what should my next role be? And I feel like I'm like, I always want to keep learning and keep growing.
Right.
So, and not saying that it's weird, because I think because I went to pharmacy school, like that's how you identify, right? You're like, I need to do something in pharmacy. I need to learn something else in this trade. So I think what's cool when, I started working on this, it was almost like, wait, what? I'm not in the food space. Can I actually do this? Yeah. But you really, I guess, lesson is you can't limit yourself just because you're in a certain position.
So when you're in it, were you ever entrepreneurial minded, like at any point, like, hey, let's just do this quick project, or let's do this thing before this ever came? Were you kind of like, did you ever have side projects that you played with or flirted with when, school, work, at any point early on?
Yeah, it's interesting. I really wouldn't say that I like came from like an entrepreneurial mindset. My parents are I grew up very like middle class family. Okay. And, it's funny, I've had this conversation with my friend before, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's like what right? Like, your parents are, especially mine, like go to college, get a good job, and you're set.
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's the mindset and with some people. And it's true, like, yeah, you are. If you have a great job, you can pay your bills. But I guess it all depends on what that means to be successful to that person, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I've worked all my life. I started working in restaurants and stuff when I was like a teenager.
So there was a food connection. See, there a little bit. There you go.
Oh, totally. Yeah, no, I could definitely draw. And I mean, I love eating food, so that food connection there. But I really didn't, like personally, I think I've always wanted to do other things. I've been great about like outreach, but I think I've always needed someone to help me like strategically put the pieces together, and that's where Akash comes in.
Yeah.
So I think with the two of us working together, that's totally just made this thing, you know, grow.
So last piece, we got the food, we have the chemistry part of it as far as putting things together.
Yeah.
Fitness.
Yeah.
Were you big in fitness, like always? Is it just something you do, or was that another element of life that's like fairly serious?
Oh, man, it's funny because I was not like, you know, I wish I could sit here and say like all my life I've been like the healthiest person and on this like health track, but like I was literally that kid that grew up eating a Happy Meal probably every day, and I was filling my body with Surge and any kind of like sugary drink that was out there, it's just so funny. So I probably didn't get into like the health and fitness scene in particular, probably until I got like to Boston and in college. Boston has a great fitness community. Yeah. It really is. It's great. And so I actually started doing CrossFit. That was like my first big introduction into like the fitness world, and like, whoa, you can do more than just like go on the elliptical and like binge watch Bravo, you know? And so I did CrossFit for a while, and then that helped introduce me to like the paleo diet. I started, you know, understanding more about that and foods. And then from there, I've just kind of like made modifications and try to tweak things, or I tweaked my diet depending on, you know, it's really individualized. So kind of grown in that sense. So it's funny because everything is kind of like synergistic now with the company, like our lifestyle and everything. It's kind of all aligning.
So when was the first thought for this? Was it did you see a problem? Or you just like kind of talking to your boyfriend? What originally caused this? Did you see something that kind of caught your eye? Or?
Yeah. Honestly, for me, like, I guess it's kind of like a twofold thing. So I have always been creative. Like I love cooking. I love creating things like in that sense. And I just have a funny story about this. I think it comes from like my dad, because he'll always come home with recipe books and be like, hey, you should try this. But if you've ever seen my dad, he's never cooked like a meal that I've seen, like other than warming up soup. His diet is like basically just processed bread, peanut butter, and Snickers. So I just think it's so funny that he was always like, oh yeah, try these new recipes. And I'm like, what? And then so that, and then really the big problem that I was having, I was traveling a ton for my job. And what I was eating were like protein bars. I'd bring them if I was on a plane. So the biggest thing for me was I would take 2 or 3 bites of a protein bar. I swear, I think they're just mostly made like with a guy audience in mind. Because every time I talk to a guy, they don't really relate or have this problem. But every time I talk to a girl, it's different. You know, I would take 2 to 3 bites of a protein bar, and then I'm like, oh, what do I do with the rest of this? You know, I've just spent $4 at an airport on it. So I would like try to like cleverly like fold over the packaging and like put it back in like, you know, my black hole of a bag, but like, you know, by the time you pull it back out, it's like there's things stuck in it, like you're never going to eat it again. So I was like, okay, I need something that is still going to give me some protein. I wanted something low in sugar, because if I'm just sitting around not really being as active, you know, I don't want a ton of added sugar in my diet there. So I just went online, looked up, you know, how to make energy bites, which there's a ton of recipes on there. And I would make them all the time for me and Akash when we're traveling.
This is real entrepreneurship. Like that's like, I went to school for entrepreneurship at Suffolk, and so many times you hear people come up with businesses and and of course I think I have too, like where there's like, nah, man, this will be dope and people will buy it. But the number one thing they taught us was look for problems, right? Look for problems and then you try to solve them. And then seeing that, okay, this bar sucks. How do I still get what I want? That's like how it all kicks.
Yeah.
So you identified the problem and you were making these bites. At what point were you like, yo, I should really do this?
It's funny because I actually remember this moment because so I was making them, and the thing is, like, and I feel like I still hear this feedback sometimes too. People are like, oh yeah, I've made those at home, and it's like, okay, but yeah, how many times? You know, like it takes like an hour, you know, like time to put them together. Out of the batch you make, you get maybe 20 to 25 protein balls, and so that's what I was doing. And I remember like. Akash, his friends would come over. I would literally have to hide them because like they're guys, so they'd eat like 4 or 5 of them at a time, and then that's my meal prep for the week. And so I was kind of like, wow, I'm definitely seeing that there's a need. People were asking me about them. They're like, hey, bring your balls, you know?
Yeah.
And then Akash literally looked at me one day. It was like in February, about a year ago, and I was sitting on the couch. He was in the kitchen, and he was literally eating one, and he was like, oh my God, you know, you should just start selling these.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I'm like, I don't know, would anyone buy them? And he was like, well, why don't we see? Why don't we find out?
Yeah.
And that was about a year. Yeah, that was last February. So a little over a year ago. And that kicked off this whole process.
How'd you get your first, so you already given them to people every once in a while. Did you, when you were first coming out, make like an event about it and just said, okay, I'm gonna make a bunch, have a bunch of people over, try that out? Or were you just casually kind of just making them and then distributing them?
Yeah, when we were first doing it, obviously like our friends were and still are our biggest like guinea pigs. We're constantly feeding them balls, which also, it's just really funny having like a protein ball business because I feel like all we do is talk about balls and just have like ball puns all day.
The word balls is hilarious.
Yeah, like, I know. Even I still get a kick out of it to this day where like the serving size is literally 2 balls. Like, I don't know. I just think it's hysterical. So, and it's great because you just always have humor around, I guess, right? So yeah, I'm always just giving people my balls, essentially.
Giving them balls. So,
but it was okay. So it's also cool too because any event like, so the concept came up, but we didn't necessarily have like a product, you know, like ready to go. Like we had the gist of like what I was making. But I think to really like refine it and like, cause like this recipe has easily changed, I want to say like 200 times at this point, you know, like it's just through like both the figuring out, you know, what's going to be most convenient, what's going to be most flavorful, how to scale, you know. So what was nice too is we also have a family friend that owns a restaurant. So we would go there and help out and work sometimes. And I would literally bring these with me. And every employee that works there, I'd be like, try these, like, tell me what you think. How's the texture? How's this? How's that? Because something that was, you know, different that we changed, before they were a little more crumbly, you know? And I was like, this isn't going to work because the whole idea is you want to be able to grab them and go and not have to worry about having like, you know, crumbs everywhere. Like if you're in the car.
Like a granola bar.
Yeah, like one
the worst.
I'm always like, I feel like I'm always driving or sitting and I can't tell you how many times like I've stood up and I have like a chocolate chip or something stuck to the back of my leg and I'm like, you know, then it's 5 o'clock and no one told me all day. I'm like, oh, great. I've just been walking around like this. But
I notice it most on airplanes where you're just like crumbs.
Yeah, everywhere. So I think that was secretly also one of the goals was to make like a crumb-free snack.
So how do you get, you're making them for your friends, they're liking them. How do you just get one of these? Like, I don't understand hard goods that much because everything I did was like tech, right? So you work on something, submit it somewhere, and it's good. Yep. How do you even just say, okay, I want to make one, we need a package. What goes into that? Because it looks super simple. Every time you go to the store, you're just like, yeah, we can do this. We can make candied gummy bears. But like, how do you even find where you're going to make them and then find this plastic thing to put it in and then get it to it? Like, you know what I mean? The shelf.
Yeah, and see, those are my exact questions. Like, I think about all these things at once. Like that moment when Akash was like, yeah, you should just sell them. That's what started coming into my mind. And that's what I think was like so daunting from my aspect. Yeah. But Akash was like, okay, yeah, this is the fun part. Like, let's figure it out. I feel like that's a great part of also having like a true entrepreneurial mindset is just thinking about these things like this. So you have no idea where to start and just figuring it out. So to answer your question, I mean, we just literally started Googling,
Yeah.
reaching out to people. I'm like, how do you make a, bulk packaging? Like, how do you, just trying to figure out and again, still coming back to I've been now trained as a pharmacist. I was working a corporate job. I have no idea. I'm not trained in the food space. So then it was a matter of, figuring out packaging. What are we going to put on the packaging? So then, reaching out to some friends, reaching out to some marketing companies, seeing how we could make it work. Because obviously we don't have a huge budget, to get it going. And then also how to get the product in the bags as most efficiently as possible. So then we started reaching out to commercial kitchens and figuring out how to make a big batch of what I was making at home.
So you do that yourself, even large packages you make alone?
Everything.
At home?
Yeah. Oh, no. We make them in a commercial kitchen.
So you could rent the space?
Yep.
Okay,
exactly.
cool. And then you can just make it all at once. Got it.
Yep.
So what's your first sale? Do you remember that? Your first one of these sales? Packaging and all that.
I do. Actually, and it's funny because it was right here in Boston. I was working out at, when I lived here, which was only a couple of years ago, I would work out at Brick Boston, which is right down in the financial district. And they're an awesome community. I still, when I would come back to Boston, I would take classes and drop-ins. And I remember reaching out to the owners and these were finally ready to go. And I was like, hey, can I set up a sampling event? At this point, we were mostly, I was reaching out to gyms, really anything to help get the word out.
Okay.
So I was so excited. We got our table runner already, our marketed stuff and logo branded products or little things to decorate the table with. And I remember just being really nervous, is anyone actually gonna buy them, and still to this day, I still have that thought in my mind. I've done I don't know, hundreds of sampling events now at this point, but I'm still are people gonna like these? It's always so encouraging once people try it. And then, then they pick it up and they're like, oh my God, this is great. And then I'm just so appreciative. I just am so happy when people are like, oh yeah, I want to can I buy a bag? I'm like, yes, please.
Nice.
Really? Thank you.
So now that you're selling them, how do you see work now? Now you have actual, I feel like it's like a baby.
It is.
Except way better.
Yeah.
That's not gonna poop itself.
Cry.
Yeah. So now you got to work. You've sold a bunch of these. How do you even get through the day of has your whole perception of the office and being there changed once these start moving?
Yeah, it definitely has, because this also opened up my mind just to different ways of working. I always was so it was normal for me to you have a boss, you're on a certain career path and track, you have tasks to accomplish, you're kind of reporting updates and stuff. But I think the biggest thing, working on something that's your own this, you can really see how much, once you get the momentum behind it, you can see how fast it really starts to move.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most exciting thing. And that's something that's huge that was missing from, my full-time job. And, so still to this day, I am thinking you put a lot of effort into moving things forward, but just because of the nature of how it is, it's hard to really get that momentum. There's so many moving pieces. Whereas when you're just a small company and there's only a handful of people behind it, it's just amazing how fast you can move. So I think that's the biggest difference I've noticed. And I would say, especially for this, dedicating time to it, I always need to prioritize my full-time job, right? And get those things out. The things that I know I need to get done, I just have to get them out of the way now. Otherwise, it takes up space in my brain and I feel I can't be as creative.
True.
So that's the biggest holdup. But it's cool because I think there still is some transfer between what I'm learning now and then how I can apply that to my job. Just trying to be as creative as you can and trying to solve problems. Yeah. That's very transferable. So
it sounds like job's fine. Mm-hmm. This is fine. This is growing.
Yep.
Do you feel like you've lost time anywhere else, like personal life? Do you see yourself losing something you once got to do because of this going well and because of having to do this on top of work?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't feel like a void in any sense. And I think a big part of that too is because my boyfriend is also my partner in the company.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool. If anything, this has kind of given us like something to work on together. Like you said, this is almost like raising a kid, I feel like,
right.
you know? And we always like joke around. We're like, wow, couples should either like definitely get a dog or just like start a business, because it just teaches you a lot about communication with each other. And just like, it makes you really, like for me, I love the way that he thinks. Like, I'm always like, how can I like, he's just so creative. He is so excited to take on challenges, whereas sometimes I'll look at something and get like overwhelmed. But he's just ready to take it like head on. So I think the way that we approach things is different, but we end up, you know, kind of helping each other, balancing out. Yeah.
Like a lot of people, including myself, like I'm very apprehensive. My wife and I joke around. I'm like, we're not working together ever. But at the same time, I do think a lot of the apprehension you have about partnering with someone is trust. And I think the number one thing you get in a relationship, at least like, okay, we'll butt heads, but I at least trust you to not kill me in my sleep and to not like, you know what I mean? I at least trust that we love each other on a human level.
Yeah.
So that regardless of what this, even if this does not go well, like your worst case scenario or whatever, but at least we'll have that base to start on. And I think that makes things a lot easier, especially the kickoff point.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think that's a really good point. And I just think at the end of the day, you just really have to make sure you're on the same page about what the goal is.
Right.
Like for us, we're both like, you know, this is a business, but at the end of the day, like our partnership is what means more than anything, you know? And I think we're both in it because we want to be able to share this with more people. You know, we both get such like a natural high off of like when somebody tries this and they're like, oh my God, I haven't like tasted anything like this.
Nice.
This is, or, you know, they're like, I've really been looking for a healthy snack that I'll eat consistently. Or if someone's like, I can't get my kids to eat anything besides this, like both of us just light up and we're like, this is exactly what we want. We want to be able to, you know, have a healthy snacks out there that don't have a ton of artificial stuff in them and are just overall healthy and people like to eat them.
Nice.
So.
What was your biggest victory since you've started this, where you're just like, this is what was the most validating moment you've had?
Oh, wow. There's just been so many, because honestly, every moment is just like so valid. Like I even had like a sampling today at a grocery store here in Boston. We're at Golden Goose and
nice.
in the North End. Yeah. And like I brought in a case, I'm sampling it as people, like literally anytime someone tries it, I'm so happy like when they like it. And we went through like a whole case like in that sampling, which is like 12 bags. Nice. And I those are just so validating. I don't know. And I look at everything kind of the same in that sense. So
nice.
I don't know, maybe I'll have like a bigger, you know, we're just starting out too. So we're not in like a ton of stores yet. And that's because at this point we're trying to like figure out efficiencies. And we want to be able to keep up with the demand, which I think will be hopefully ready and gearing up for in the next few months. So nice. I mean, I'd love to come back and update you on that. Yeah. I might have some bigger wins, but nice. I think it's still going to be very encouraging. Like I said, even just the personal interaction that you get.
Good.
See it.
Well, if you could name one, what milestone would you like accomplished? Let's say that by the end of the year, what one big thing you'd be like, okay, that was cool. It could be internal, like efficiency based. It could be a story you're trying to get into. Is there one thing you can have in your mind, like, okay, if I can just get this, we can have this. We're in a good, that'll make us happy for like a few months on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I think if we can because right now we're just in like some smaller specialty grocery stores. And I think right now, I guess it's kind of like twofold, because the biggest thing that I would just be so happy about is just if people can get access to them. Okay. Right. So a big win for me is if we can get in with like any like bigger grocery store chain where people, don't have to go for miles from like their house to go buy it, or like, you know, they can order it offline too. But then the other aspect would be getting on Amazon. So that would be, yeah.
Then you just have to cook all the time.
Yeah. Well, we don't even have to cook them, which is, but yeah, a lot of rolling.
Yeah. Well, I think it's definitely doable. It seems like you have the right mindset about it.
Yeah.
Like it's not, I feel like the way businesses advertise is that it's the end all be all, like this whole like sports mentality, like always be closing.
Yeah.
But it's not. You can have multiple ideas. You can have multiple types of businesses. Some can work, some can fail. You just got to keep your head about it and know that there's other things in life that are more important than this. It is important, but it's not everything. So I like that. And I feel like I could see this being in a lot of places. Like I really do. It's really cool. It's really cool.
You.
So with that said, as of now, how can people support you? Where can they find you if they see this video? How can they say, okay, I want to help out at some point?
Yeah, I mean, we love any kind of support. So we have an Instagram page, just @Protein Powerball. So that's a great place to find like any updates about where we're selling them. Definitely, you know, we'll be posting whenever we're in like new stores and stuff. Another big thing, if anybody, like for me, like I've said pretty candidly during this interview, I'm not familiar with the food space, you know, like it's not like this is my bread and butter. No pun intended, I guess. But but if anybody's out there and like they're watching this and, you know, maybe they've had some experience in the food or like consumer packaged goods, like I'm always looking for mentorship or just like any type of guidance out there. If you know, feel inclined to like reach out or offer some advice, like I'm always open to that because, I mean, I'm no self-proclaimed expert at all in this. So, reach out, literally just DM me on the website. You can send an email.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a ton of ways to get in touch. So.
Cool. Well, yes, hopefully we can do that. I hope there's someone super rich and influential on the other end of this.
Anyone out there?
Yes. So I seriously, I thank you for coming and sharing this. I like efficiency. I feel like all of this is very planned, very strategic, very efficient at least, you know what I mean? So it's super cool and we'll do what we can to help.
Thank you.
We'll be putting this out on all podcast networks as usual. Go to our website, moonlightersclub.com. We'll have a page for you and links that are applicable.
Awesome.
So, yes, for more content, please stay tuned to the Moonlighters Club podcast. Again, find us anywhere. And also, if you out there have a story about moonlighting, entrepreneurship, and how you mingle the two, please feel free to contact us. We would love to hear your story and any feedback you have for our guest.
Yes.
So thank you again, Becky.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon. And everyone else, we'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.